Today I want to talk about Jew hatred and miracles. What? Jew hatred and miracles. And for me to explain what that means, we first have to investigate what's a miracle.
Simca's Sessions, out-of-the-box insights into history, religion, and politics.
So let's talk about miracles. What's a miracle? It's a suspension of something that is normal. Okay? The Jew hatred that is in the media, on campuses, and pouring out of people's cells, out of their pores, that's unusual. That's crazy. The generation of the Holocaust is still around. There's still people who lived through the Holocaust, and already we see this Jew hatred again. How is that possible? Why? Why are 80% of the resolutions of the United Nations against Israel? It's the worst country in the world. China is nice. They're using slave labor of children. They're a dictatorship. Iran is nice. They're hanging people for being gays. They're oppressing women on a daily basis. They're shooting at demonstrators. Why is Israel the focus of everything bad in the world? You know, first we have to understand that this phenomenon is not just political, it's a miracle. What I mean by a miracle is a translation really of a biblical concept. In the Bible, in the Hebrew Bible, that's the original, the 5 books of Moses, the Torah. Nes is the word for miracle, and it doesn't mean that people can float in the air or that there's chariots coming out of heaven. What it means is that you should raise your eyebrow when something is weird, and you should try to figure out what's going on here, what's unusual here, what's really happening. When Moses, the greatest prophet ever, he talks to God the first time, what happens? Does the Bible say God came down in a flaming chariot? No, it says Moses noticed a burning bush. But the bush burned but wasn't consumed. So what does he do? He raises his eyebrow. He says, that's unusual. I'm going to investigate. And that's when he hears the word of God. When you see something really weird, that's a nes. A nes in Hebrew is not just a miracle, it's a sign, it's a flag, it's a marker. We're seeing it all around us. The hatred of Jews that have sprung now, that has sprung from the earth, from people's pores, is not normal. What you see on the front pages of the New York Times and CNN, it's not normal. Israel's not the worst country in the world. Right now, as I'm recording this, in the war between Russia and Ukraine, 500,000 people died. In the war between Israel and Gaza, according to the bad guys, 60,000 people died. And if half of them are terrorists, there's 30,000 casualties, civilian casualties. Why do we hear about them and about the 500,000 in Ukraine and Russia? Why haven't we heard? There's 1.5 million people in Gaza. There's 10 million refugees from the Syrian civil war. Have you heard of them? Do you know about them? There's 500,000 people died there. Have you heard about them? Do you know about them? There's still slavery, black slavery in the Arab world today. Have you heard about them? The fact that you haven't heard it is a nes. It's a sign that something really weird is going on, that there's a suspension of normal history and a focus on the Jews. And it's happened before. The Inquisition. They burned Jews at the stake. Why? After 1,000 years the Jews were there, suddenly they were the problem. And what happens when they burn Jews at the stakes? They flee. They went to Amsterdam, for example. And then what happens? What starts with the Jews ends up with the non-Jews. Spain went down the drain and Amsterdam went up. What starts with persecuting Jews ends up with persecuting everybody. The Jews flee, they survive, they go back up, and the cycle begins again. Today there's a village, a global village, and Israel is the new ghetto. Where does the word ghetto come from? From Black America? No, from Jews. It's Italian. It means ghetto. It means the foundry. Jews in Venice were forced to live in a ghetto next to the ghetto. That's where the word comes from, so that they can be locked in and inhale bad air where they were making iron. Ghetto is a word invented for Jews, but what happens? It ends up ghettoizing other people. And today, Israel's the new ghetto of the global village, what Marshall McLuhan called the global village. The world is a small place, and Israel's the new ghetto. So let's gang up on the Jews. You gang up on the Jews, it ends up on you. You think you're on the right side, but you're on the bad side. You gotta do what Moses did. You gotta say, why? Why are they? They're not the worst people in the world. Why do I hear famine when there's no famine? Genocide when there's no genocide? What's going on here? And if you are a good person, and if you're being manipulated, you're going to use the miracle to get out of the sickness of Jew hatred. Because, ladies and gentlemen, you've been played. If you like this out-of-the-box analysis, like and subscribe and share so we can keep bringing you out-of-the-box perspectives.